You had supplier quality.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I am thrilled to have an all-female engineering panel. I feel like that is an accomplishment. So thank you for joining us. We were going to start off by having some introductions. So let me get my list of quick questions up. So I'm going to start with Robyn. If you can introduce yourself, please tell us your name, your job title, what degrees you currently hold or are working on, and then a brief description of your area or your area of specialization or your field that you're currently working in.
Thank you, Danica. Hello, everyone. I'm Robyn Thomas, and I am a producibility engineer, combustion subject matter expert. My background is combustion engineering, and the particular job is what I would call a first responder. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But in order of what you asked, I hold a bachelor's and a master's in mechanical engineering from Texas A&M University. Let's see. So a typical day, is that what you wanted to know? So I've been
sorry, Robyn. I'm gonna have everybody answer one question at a time.
Okay.
So we'll just do introductions for everyone, and then we'll move on to the next question together.
Okay. So I work for Solar Turbines. We make medium and increasingly larger size industrial gas turbines. Okay. And the combustion system is where we convert the thermal energy is generated and then gets converted to mechanical energy. And so on any given day, I'm working not so much on the design side all the time anymore, but as an interface between our manufacturing team and our supply chain, and then also ensuring that our designs can be optimally produced with consistency. I'll leave it at that for now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Robyn. Janet, can we go with you next?
Hi, sure. Thank you. Hi, my name is Janet Tisnado. I'm a manager and principal layout designer at Qualcomm, where I have worked there almost 20 years. I received my bachelor's in electrical engineering from San Diego State University. And I am in the semiconductor business where together with my team, we draw the inside of microchips.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Janet. Debra, did you want to go ahead and go next?
Yes, Debra Kimberling. I am an aerospace engineer with a degree in master's in aerospace engineering from the University of Washington. I currently run the San Diego County Engineering Council. It's a nonprofit, and I am a retired engineer that allows me to dedicate time more into the nonprofit space. And I'm just going to put a shout out. I worked with Robyn for 22 years at Solar Turbines, and it's so good to see some of the folks out there today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Debra. Mary?
Okay. My name is Mary Graves. I'm a Supplier Quality Engineer Manager. I work for Northrop Grumman. I support our sector, which is mission systems. So we work on aircraft, spacecraft, and submarines and marine systems. I guess an example of what that really means is that we have a subgroup. Our commodity is cables and connectors. So harnesses, any connections for wires, various wires, fiber optics, coax cables, anything like that, you work on and inspect. My team travels the nation, but I also have some connections outside in Australia and Asia. And that's my team. Oh, and degrees, I'm sorry. Degree, my bachelor's in chemical engineering from the University of California, San Diego, master's in system engineering from the University of California, San Diego. Sorry.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you so much. Excellent. So I'm going to start with you, Mary, on the next question, number 2. Describe a typical day in your field. Describe a typical work day.
From management or the individual contributors?
Just what do you do when you go to work?
Oh, okay. So I work remotely. I travel about 25% of the time. So some things I do which are pretty basic, like I approve expense reports and I do timekeeping. I also work on larger scale issues with our suppliers. We have a system called GuideUp, and it is a national alert system for anything that affects the U.S. government. I am on the review board for that at my company. So I review that to make sure that as a company we are addressing it. I address any kind of resource constraints. Just my team is located all over the nation and the world, really. So I have to make sure I have people available at all times. I review metrics to see how we're doing as far as lead times and how we are affecting the factory. I look at how non-conformances are affecting our factories. Do we need to help suppliers? Do we need to look at different kind of supplier planning, like Kaizen events and continuous improvement efforts? I do occasionally go and visit our suppliers on site as well for quarterly business reviews. Our key and critical suppliers, we meet with them on a quarterly basis, but then we have about 15 in my group, and so I travel fairly often to wherever they are. It's never exciting, but I do travel. And then I guess the best part of my job is really mentoring. I have a couple of people on my team who are rotational. We have a program in our company called Pathways, and a person is there for about 3 years, and they get to rotate between 3 different engineering professions. And I'm always encouraging them to branch out. The last Pathways actually just got accepted to a master's program at UCLA. So I'm very excited about that.
That's phenomenal. That's so exciting. I didn't even realize, is that a common thing across other fields that people allow you to go into different areas of engineering within a company? I don't know if anybody can speak to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Wow, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
The larger companies.
Larger companies, sure, that makes sense. I did not realize that. That's really neat. But it sounds like you do, I mean, you have the opportunity to work remote. That has to be really nice in terms of flexibility for your schedule. You have a variety of different things that you do on any given day. Some of it involves interfacing with people, some of it is solo. So kind of the whole range of things. That's not fantastic. Thank you so much, Mary. Janet, did you want to follow up on that?
Sure. So I am also working remote. They call it hybrid. I can go into the office if I wanted to, and a lot of people do choose to go in. I choose to stay home because I live about 35 miles away from the office, and I did that for about 20 years. And now, during COVID, I realized I could do everything at home. On a typical day, I log in, check my meetings. I assign work to people on my team. I have teams in the USA, in Singapore, and in India. Sorry, I have some. We have a few months to build a chip, so I plan and schedule how we're gonna attack it, the plan to build it, and I have to ask for resources if needed, and assign resources correctly to get the job done, to help meet the deadlines. I love being hands-on, drawing the chip. That's my thing that I love to do. I don't always get to do that though, because there is a lot of administrative work to do, but I do try to give myself a little bit of that fun stuff too. And I love figuring out how the components will fit on a floor plan, and like figuring out where I need to place things. And that's what I really love when I'm doing my job. I'm also always updating workflows and methodologies for our team, and I work with my direct employees to help manage their career paths.
Wonderful, thank you. So definitely a good amount on the creative side. Is that it sounds like that's intentional on your end, that there's probably other directions in that company that that somebody with your background could go, but you really enjoy this part of the job.
That's true. I definitely hanged on to this once I found out it was something I really liked. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much, Janet. Debra, if you want to give us a day in your current work and maybe what you did in the past, that'd be great.
Excellent. So the San Diego County Engineering Council is a nonprofit of local engineering society chapters. And so we have about 20 chapters that come together, and we host an awards program. We host keynote speakers and Engineers Week, and a lot of our activities in between that is, believe it or not, communications related. So we actually have a group called NCOSI. They're the systems engineers, and they're currently working on a program to see how we can improve the cross communications between the societies. And when you think about it, these are oftentimes company related issues. And when I retired from Solar Turbines, I was working in a group called Product Support. And we were a medium between the sales team and the hardcore engineering team. And Robyn would be my hardcore engineering team. And we would see what custom needs we could meet from the customers. I also had the amazing opportunity to work on some of the fuel tools, and it's how can we put the technical details that the sales team, the applications engineers who work with the sales folks to address their special fuel needs. And so we had like a gas fuel suitability. I created a liquid fuel suitability to help them get the technical proposals into their hands, to make us look good as a company and to be able to provide that technical support. And so you're working with the experts, and it's not just the combustion engineers, it's the oh, help me out, Robyn, it's been so long.
The performance engineers.
The performance engineers and combustion engineers are probably the primary folks.
The mechanical side for any harsh environment.
Yeah, and so for complex ones, we might call team meetings. We'd have to come up with, well, if you give us 2 months and blah, blah, blah dollars, we can create this customization for our engines. And then it was up to the sales team to either sell it or to reduce that. It was a blast. I enjoyed it a lot.
So it sounds like you did a lot to connect different departments, which I think is something that people don't always realize about engineering fields, is that they can be very interpersonal. They can require a lot of interpersonal skills. They don't have to, but I think that there's a lot of room for being able to self-select into the areas that really that you vibe with, right? And to move around, right? So if you find an area that doesn't resonate with you, that you can move into other areas and find that sweet spot. Thank you so much, Debra. I'll hand it over to you, Robyn.
Thank you, Danica. So I'll piggyback on what Debra said in a minute, but first I'll tell you what I do now is based on the experience I gained as a combustion engineer. And now I said I'm a first responder. I'm that liaison. One of my primary roles is, you design it and you're down to, tens of thousands, very small, tightly toleranced dimensions, and then you have to actually make it. And our machines are very accurate, but of course, people are doing these things. And so sometimes mistakes can be made, or just the process is not quite in sync. And so sometimes you get a part that doesn't meet the print, and can you accept it or not? Well, we never test to the bad stuff. And so then you have to use your expertise and your best engineering judgment in order to determine, can I use this? Because you don't want to scrap a part. I'm dealing with, well, if you think of a jet engine, that's what our gas turbines are, but they're stationary. So the fuel injectors are what I'm working on, and then the combustion chamber where the fire is contained. You don't want to scrap tens of thousands of dollars because there's a nick due to handling damage or because the flow is slightly out. And so it's a judgment. And I will tell you, sometimes I'm risk averse and it's not always a fun place to be, but you determine what is your rationale. And then I always ask, you know, what was the root cause? If they're not able to determine it, then we need to look to find that. And then what's the root cause corrective action? Because if something will happen, but you don't want it to keep happening. I'm also working with our supply chain with second sourcing another supplier because we need to, one supplier may not be delivering on time or we're just ramping up. And so we need a second source supplier. Solar's been in business, I think it's 95 or 98 years. And as you can imagine, some of the legacy drawings and specifications may not be quite up to today. And so I'm revising some of those as I'm working to create and improve some of the existing products that have to be manufactured and still consistent with what we're putting out. So you get to do new stuff, but sometimes you have to improve existing things within tighter constraints. And that's when the real creativity kicks in. A word about teams. Gas turbines are very complex. And we are Solar, we were talking about the culture recently, and it's one team. Everybody's job is important. We're all contributing. And I don't really know anybody who just sits at their desk and even remotely, and I get to work in a hybrid manner. And so you're on Teams and you're having meetings remotely, and then you go in and you're also having meetings, and it may not be a big meeting, you know, small meetings where you're connecting with other people. There is a lot of communication. I'll just say quickly, I'm an individual contributor. And so what that means is the teams form, you know, as we need them. And I don't have direct, you have to do this. So you learn a lot of influencing skills to get people to cooperate and work together and do what you need to do. With Debra and I had a lot of fun together. One of the projects, sort of since she left, but she was talking about how we specialize in creating systems. So I developed a system to streamline the offerings that we have so that it was easier for people, for our combustion engineers to select the hardware and to standardize it so that no matter what the customer asks, we wanted to have standardized special systems that would accommodate whatever the customer needed, or that we would create something that fell within the bounds so that it wasn't just haphazard and provided more consistency for everyone.
So basically, you were making a sort of plug and play model for customization.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So, do salespeople in your various, this is tangent, sorry, friends. But do salespeople in your areas, are they engineers as well, or do they tend to be, you know, lay people that come in and sell things, or is it a mixture? Anybody?
I think at Solar Turbines, they're mostly from an engineering or technical field for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And Just a little funny story. When I was there was one time I was looking for a job and I was cold calling companies, and I didn't realize that was a rare skill set. And this one guy says, we don't have any current engineering openings, but we do have a sales engineering opening. And I'm just going, sales? What are you talking about? I was pretty young, right? And I'm just going, no, I need to do technical stuff first. And so I turned him down. But today I'm just going, that guy knew what he was talking about. I should have listened to him. So, yeah, it requires all skill sets.
Mary, did you want to chime in on that?
I think it's a little different at Northrop Grumman. It's more like a group, and there's capture management. It's generally from supply chain or sales, like previous sales experience, or they're more like business development. So they meet with maybe heads of military branches, and they kind of decide the technology that they may be going for, and then we bid on a contract. So it's not so much sales. I mean, they have a sales background, but they don't necessarily need to be engineers. They just need to have experience.
Okay, yeah, so it's pretty field dependent is what it sounds like I'm hearing y'all say. Interesting. Thank you for enlightening me. Sorry for going off track. I will get back on track now. Okay, so I'm going to start with you, Robyn, on this one. So what drew you to engineering? Did you know starting off that you wanted to go into engineering and then you chose a specialization? Or did you start pursuing something and then realize that you wanted to go into an engineering specialization?
That's such a fun question because I did not know. I didn't grow up thinking, oh, this is, what I want to do. But in high school, peer pressure can be good. All my friends were taking calculus, so I took calculus. But education was really important in my family. So, the foundation was laid. And my parents were really great. They, whatever you want to do. And my dad has a science background. So science was always encouraged, in our house. So I didn't know per se, but then when it was time to sign up for something, then that's what I did. And I actually started out in bioengineering, which was so fascinating to me. But here's a plug for summer internships, which are really important that you want to make sure you're gaining that experience along the way. And I couldn't get a summer job. And what they said is, well, we can hire a biology major cheaper than you. I'm like, I'm a sophomore. I'm just trying to get an internship. And there wasn't anything. But when I switched to mechanical, then the world started to open up a little bit. And I thought, well, I can go back because bones are a structure and blood is a fluid. But then I got involved with gas turbines with my first summer internship. And that's how I ended up in mechanical engineering. And I really enjoyed the aerothermal side of it more than the strictly mechanical side of it. So took all those, courses, but I really enjoyed the aerothermal analysis better. So I guess I kind of fell into it and have grown to really enjoy it.
I think I hear that from a lot of people that their experience in an internship or a lab that they worked in, or a particular area that they started in, really influences where they end up going after that. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Robyn. Mary, did you want to piggyback off of that for me?
Yeah, sure. What drew me to engineering? So I started out as a pre-med at UCSD, and my partner at the time was actually studying engineering, and he would come out every day talking about math and physics and how much he hated all of it. And I thought it sounded great. So we ended up switching So he became a biology major and I became a engineering major. It's a funny story, he's now a surgeon. As far as a specialization, okay, Mae Jemison was the first black female astronaut, and she has 2 degrees. First one chemical engineering, second one is a biomedical degree. So I just kind of based myself off of that.
I love that.
That's fantastic. I love that bit of history too. Thank you so much, Mary. Janet, did you want to go next on that one?
Sure, I'll go next. Also piggyback off them, because I also did not, well, I think Robyn said she did not know she was going to be an engineer. I was not a tinkerer. I was not, I mean, I knew how to turn on the VHS for my parents, and they thought I was like the world to them. I was like, oh, can you program my VCR? But and I loved math. Since a young age, my parents were always good at math, even though they didn't get to finish school because they were from Mexico. But they would help me with math their own way, the way that they did it, and we would put it together. And I would love to do math. So I think in high school, one of my teachers said, "You should be an engineer." And I was like, "What in the world does that mean?" He didn't explain to me what that was, but he did put that first word in. And I remember I talked to my mom, and she's like, "I don't know what that would mean. Like, what would you do?" So we didn't know what that was. But my senior year in high school, there was this nonprofit organization that came to our school, and they were looking to place minority students in corporate America. So they came in and they said, "We're offering 2 types of jobs, business and engineering. And you can apply for the internships." Well, everybody that I knew was applying for the business ones, and nobody that I knew was applying for engineering. So I said, "You know what? I'm going to apply for this engineering one." And I mean, you had to qualify, but luckily I was able to get in. And my first summer, I spent it at Unisys in Rancho Bernardo, and that's when I got to fall in love with electronics.
Wonderful. Awesome. So so you knew what you wanted to do when you went to college.
That's true. That made me pick my major.
Wonderful. Oh, that's fantastic. What an amazing program. Do you mind if I ask what high school you went to?
Sure, I went to Montgomery High School here in South Bay, San Diego.
That's such an amazing opportunity. I didn't even realize that seniors in high school were able to do things like that. But that kind of speaks to these types of events, right? Just seeing what's out there. The sooner it happens, the faster you can connect. Awesome. Thank you, Janet. Debra?
Well, I hate to say the same story, but I did end up going, when I graduated from high school, I was at a complete loss. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I kind of liked math, and so I tried accounting, but trust me, it was not speaking to me at all. And it was a math teacher at Mesa Community College that suggested that I try out engineering. And of course, I think something in me is going, engineer, what is it? Of course, this is before the internet. And so we're looking around, and I'm just going, well, this allows me to be creative, to help solve some of the world's problems. And can I be independently financially stable with or without somebody else to go with? And I'm just going, thank you. I found my profession, and it's been nonstop ever since. And yeah, I've tried different fields. I was professor once. I was working on the Atlas Centaur rocket once, and then gas turbine engines, and then this and that in between. And it's been a joyride ever since. And I retired in my 50s, so I'm very proud of myself.
Ooh, that's a selling point right there. So again, going on a tangent, and I apologize for this, but since we have an all-female panel here, I feel like we have to take advantage of this. But I think that there are certain issues that that pertain mainly to women in terms of reproductive rights and those kinds of decisions. And I think that one of the things that I really love about what I've been hearing about engineering positions is, number one, you don't necessarily have to go to that next level of education, right? You're not having to get a master's necessarily. So you're not spending as much time in school. It sounds like there's a lot more flexibility in terms of scheduling. I don't know if that's true earlier in a career, but it does seem like a very friendly, a female friendly area, a lot of creativity, a lot of interpersonal, if you want that, right? So do you guys want to comment on that? Am I reading that accurately? I don't know if any of you have children.
I have,
I have, oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
So yeah, I have 3 boys, and definitely things changed a bit. Well, with my first son, I think I got the 6 weeks. 6 weeks I got to the state disability, and with my second kid, I got a little bit longer. And with my last kid, he's 10 right now, I was able to take like 6 months off. So definitely with time, things have changed where even paternity leave has become longer. So I'm just very grateful that, things are changing in the right direction. And we do have lactation rooms. We have all these things to help us. And plus, you can work from home now too. So definitely the work environment for women has become much better.
My son's a lot older. So it was, it was a balancing act, but I was in a position that I was able to take about 5.5 months off. And so I didn't lose too much time. I would say, so I want to say 2 things. First, I think you don't necessarily have to get an advanced degree, but I think it can be helpful if you choose to do that as well. And I know a lot of people, if you're with a big company, then sometimes there's the option where they will pay for part of the advanced degree. And I think if you're thinking of that, that's really a great opportunity to take advantage of. The second thing is, and I know for me, this has been a little bit of a reminder, really, that just because this is what your degree says and this is what you did, you can pivot. I think an engineering degree teaches you how to think, and that's in whatever you choose to do. And I know people who have taken advantage, and they're in shoe designers and so many different avenues, especially today. So the engineering degree allows you the ability to think and to know that you can learn to solve a problem, and you can study to get those specific skills and dive deep technically if you want to, but it will serve you well no matter what you do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Robyn. Mary, did you want to contribute anything on that end?
I think it depends on the companies, but my company is primarily men. And I think it's important to realize that you're going into a male-dominated industry as well. And you need to have, you might need to have tough skin in certain situations, may be uncomfortable, but I think it's worth it in the end. And I think people will recognize you because you do earn your way here. Nobody hands you an engineering position. But it just have to think about that. It's going to be tough.
Awesome. Thank you. Debra, anything you wanted to piggyback off of there?
I'm going to say that a lot of the presidents of the company had engineering backgrounds. And what it does is it gives you that street credibility to branch off into any field, start a business, run a business, or just be the technical contributor. Street cred counts, right? So get the degree and get some entry-level position, and then decide where you want to go. Get the credibility. Number 2, yeah, there's a male-dominated field, but I want to pull together just a couple of statistics. If you look at the research of who's paid what, even nurses in female-dominated fields, the females are paid less than the males. All right, so we have some unconscious gender bias that transcends the world. And I think that's like a secondary education. We need to read up on the research and understand that, so that when things do get tough, you don't take it personally. And so I'm a big advocate for understanding why there's so few women in STEM and the research behind it. And I know it transcended my life in my workplace. And it's just important, I'm going to call it life skills that you need to develop no matter what field you go into. All right, you need to be able to stand up for yourself. You need to be able to self-promote and sell your ideas, right? Because, you know, by the time you get to mid-career, you're either going to go for advancement or you're going to be promoting the next project to solve the company's problems or the world's life issues, and you need to be able to sell it. So these are life skills.
Wonderful. Thank you for all following me on that tangent. Okay, so next up we have, how did you learn about your current field, and what were the resources that helped you move from degree to career? I feel like we covered this one pretty thoroughly in the last question. So I'm going to skip over into what are some of your favorite things about working in your field? I know, Debra, you have a different field now, but if you want to share a little bit on both sides, that would be great.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. You know, part of the funny thing is when I was working at the previous company in product support, one of my favorite things is on problems that you couldn't solve. And when you got to a situation where you didn't have an automatic yes, or you had to say no, it was a cross company initiative with several directors and sometimes the VP that would come into these meetings, and we would try to figure out how to say yes. You know, we'd present the worst case, and then we present, you know, some of the viable options, and the adrenaline rush for presenting concise material and having the answers before they ask the questions, little things like that. I really enjoyed that. I did. And well, anyways, that's just one of the exciting things I did today. And actually in both cases, you're working with such a wide variety of people and different professions and different fields. It's really the cross communications and getting to know the folks and the different opportunities are out there. So I enjoyed that breadth of communication and addressing the risks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Mary, did you want to follow us up on that?
Yes, I'm going to say actually, I really like being a manager of engineers. So I get to propose unique ideas and solutions to problems. I'm leading an initiative at work right now where I've created a virtual inspection tool. So I'm kind of project leading a lot of network engineers and backend database engineers and all kinds of different kinds of software engineers, so I can lead this project, which is really cool. I really find it exciting when I see progress. So I'm really data driven in my approaches. So I can be like, okay, we went from here as far as quality and lead times go, we improved by like 50% because of this success of this project. That's what I like about being in management and being able to really affect the team at a larger scale.
Fantastic. Thank you. Janet, did you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, sure. So I really still like just the basic thing that I went to school with was just learning about the transistor, how it worked, how you can put it together, and it does all these different functions. So whenever I get the opportunity to give myself some of the puzzle to do, that's what I love to do. So it's really like a puzzle. Like imagine playing Tetris and you're trying to squeeze all the little blocks in, and you have to rotate some, and then they're coming down fast. That's like time. And sometimes I go to sleep and I'm still thinking about this Tetris in my mind. And then I wake up the next day and I'm like, oh, I know how to do it now. So that's the stuff that I like. It's really, so the other stuff, the administrative stuff, I still love to do it as well. But I think Mary has more passion for that. So I did want to add one little thing about how I got here, because it was the question before. I do want to just say Mesa. When I was at San Diego, it was Montgomery High School and San Diego State. The Mesa program was a huge thing that even though I was part of, I didn't know how it was affecting my life back then. it became a big part of my life. And they offered me lots of tutoring when engineering got really tough, and they helped me get through it. And I'm also part of Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And I think, Deborah, I've seen some of your emails when you invite our team to participate, like in Engineering Week and stuff like that. So it's good to see you. Anyways, yeah, that's what I enjoy. Thank you.
Is that the correct acronym? I think I'm missing a letter there.
No, that's the correct acronym. It's SHIP, but it's SHPE. Yes.
Yeah. So for students that are hearing this, we do have a chapter on campus. So you'll find that a lot of these professional organizations will also have clubs that are on campus. And so being able to network with people in those areas is also really helpful in terms of making connections and kind of exploring new opportunities. So great. I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you so much, Janet. Robyn, did you want to follow up on that?
Well, as a combustion engineer, I'll start there because that was foundational. What I really liked, especially when I started 30 years ago, and the company was a little smaller and we had broader opportunity across cross-functionally, but to be able to conceive a design and work on that development effort and the analysis, and then the qualification testing, and then you would work with the manufacturing team to have it made, and then you get to put it in the rig and the engine. So, you know, cradle to grave as you were, because then you test it, it goes out, and then you get customer feedback. Sometimes they will call you from the field if there were a problem. And now you have to figure out, you know, what happened. And there are not answers in the back of the book. And I don't like not knowing, but when you think and push, and as you said, you have to step away and then come back. And then when you actually solve it, it is such a good feeling to be able to do that. And then,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in my current, well, in the former job and the current, I really like a more systems approach to looking at the big picture and trying to make people's jobs easier. So, for example, now one initiative is improving our quality by just looking at, you know, something may be out by just a little bit, but if we can demonstrate that we have a stable process, then maybe there's an opportunity to adjust what those specification limits look like. And it's just a little thing, it seems, but it can have a big impact on somebody's daily life. And then on the bottom line, because you move it through the shop much faster. So I really like being able to look at our processes systemically and make improvements there. Oh, and let me just do a shout out for the National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE, and the Society of Women Engineers, SWE. Those are both amazing organizations that provide opportunities for leadership skills and networking and great job fairs, so you get those internships we've been talking about. And just camaraderie and like-minded people.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. I wanted to touch back on what both you and Janet said, which I think is a really important thing for students to hear, which is that sometimes problems don't just click into place, right? And I think we kind of expect when we see other people problem solving, like, oh, you know how to do it. You just know that. And it's not that way, right? A lot of the times you do need to just kind of marinate, let it sit in the back of your brain for a little while. and then revisit, because that's really where the creative work happens, is when you're not looking directly at it, right? Sometimes it happens that way, but it's much more common to need that time to digest the information. So I think that's a nice thing for students to hear. It's okay not to get it right away. Wonderful. Okay. So, so next question we have is, do you feel accepted in your profession? And do you still experience imposter syndrome sometimes? I think on the last panel that we had, it was male heavy. And so the answer to this question was unsurprisingly a little shorter. So I'm excited to see a female panel answer this one. Did you want to start us off with this one, Robyn?
Yes, I would say, so yes, overall, I feel accepted. As I said, I've been at Solar, celebrated 30 years in June. And so that has given me a level of expertise, and I focused in one particular area, and so I'm the go-to person for that. So I feel comfortable in that. And then in my current job, though, I'm having the opportunity to expand and grow and learn about different product lines that I was only peripherally involved with before. And so sometimes I have to make a decision on those products. And yes, still imposter syndrome. But as I said, you state your reasons. This is why I'm making this decision. This is the rationale behind it. And then document, what you're doing. That goes back then to our training, in that we're taught to problem solve and we're taught to think. And sometimes I have found, when I went in thinking, oh my gosh, I have no idea about this, and they're going to find out, but really, I'm really not sure. And then to just systematically just start asking questions, or can we run this test, or just working to create a rationale that can be supported. So at the end of the day, what a great mentor of mine told me, because I do tend to vacillate, and he said, make a decision, and with the information you have, because if you vacillate too long, then the opportunity's lost, and if you're wrong, you don't have a chance to go back and correct it. But if you make the decision, then often there's time to go back. What I'm doing is not brain surgery, and so it's important, but as long as, we never compromise on safety. If there's any question having to do with safety, then it's an absolute no. But there's margin for growth, and you assess that, and you learn to assess risk. Nothing is without risk. And so what is your basis for assessing risk and then moving forward with that?
Wonderful, thank you. Debra, did you want to follow up on that?
Yeah. So I noticed that I go to all of these engineering society things, and I just feel so much more accepted as an engineer if I wear a little badge that says Debra Kimberling Engineer on it. And if I don't wear that, they're thinking, oh, she's an admin or this or that. And even if it, so it just, that unconscious bias thing, it's just infiltrates the world, and we deal with people young and old of all certain ages, and so there's little tricks of the trade to help prime the acceptability for who you are. And we need to learn those things. And the other thing I want to say about acceptance is Robyn was one of the first friends that I made at Solar Turbines so many years ago. And it was through a Society of Women Engineers event. And so the funny thing is that until you join these societies, you don't see all the people that work at the companies, because they need to come out of the closet. I shouldn't call it closets, but the woodworks. They need to come out of behind their desk or from the test cells, because you may not otherwise ever meet them. So make sure you join your engineering societies so that you can make your friends and you can have those conversations about that's weird and how do I get around it. And we're there for you, because chances are we've seen it and been there, and there's a tip to help you feel accepted and be accepted and to support you along your journey. And I want to thank all of my prior mentors and thank Robyn for being there for me, and hopefully vice versa, but it's been a thrill ride. Thank you.
Wonderful. Find your community. I think that's a strong message. Janet, did you want to follow up on that?
So yeah, I think, well, now I've been at my company for a long time, so I definitely feel accepted. But I do remember when you first start, it's hard because I knew I didn't know. I was learning, right? You're in learning mode when you first start. And I would go to meetings and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are all smart people, and it's like, I have like the most basic question. And how do I approach that? And I remember I was like scared to ask people, because then they would know that I didn't know anything, or, like I'm behind somehow. So I did have to get over that, because you do need to ask questions and you need to move on and you need to do your work and get through it. And some people probably do look at you like, oh my gosh, you asked that question. And others are like happy to help you. So find the people that are happy to help you. And I was very lucky that my first career, my mentor was a female engineer who was very helpful. And I was very grateful that they assigned her to me. I think it was on purpose, which is great. I take those opportunities. Yeah, I mean, definitely, it takes time sometimes too, as being it takes time to get comfortable and feel accepted.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mary.
I'm actually gonna take a page in Deborah's book, because when I go through other countries, I have to declare to customs or trade export what I do, and I've had people interrogate me because they don't believe that that's my job as an engineer. So I think there is always some sort of stigma against women in engineering. I was feeling my company is very accepting. I chose Northrop Grumman because they are the most diverse of all of the defense contractors. I will say that being a young manager is a bit odd. I've only been at this job for like a little less than 2 years, and I was pretty early in my career when I got this promotion. So that has been a little bit of imposter syndrome, especially when I first started. My team is like a little bit younger than me or around my age, or maybe they're much older than me and they didn't exactly take me seriously. But, I believed in myself and I believe in my mentors. It was actually a senior engineer that suggested I take on a management role. Yeah, so he was kind of my mentor. And so that's been really great. I feel like, even though, obviously a man's not a woman, but, my mentors have all been men and they've been great.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point too. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you are a perfect reflection of the people who help guide you through, right? I absolutely, my very first chemistry teacher, my very first chemistry mentor was a man, and I think I would say the majority of my mentors going through my academic career. So yeah, no, I thank you for saying that, because I think that doesn't go without saying, and that's important to understand that community is community, right? Who do you connect with? Who do you find you're able to have those conversations with? Who holds you up? right? Who supports you, who tells you, you know what, I think you'd be great for that. So listen to those people. When people hype you up, you know, keep those people around, because we need to hear that, right? We need to say, yeah, maybe I should push myself a little bit farther, or do something that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. So thank you for sharing that. Awesome. All right. So last up, and I know we don't have very much time, so I'm going to ask us to kind of go through this one a little bit briefly. But what advice do you have for students just starting out their degree in engineering? Any recommendations, cautions, or tools? Mary, do you want to start us off on that one?
Sure, Danica. I would suggest being open. Like I kind of, I would say, fell into supplier quality engineering. I didn't know what it was when I started my career at all, and someone else made the suggestion that I take on this job, so I did, and that was in medical devices. Actually, so I've been in a couple different industries as well. I think it's important to be open to new things, and a lot of what I learned in school, I learned how to think about problems and how to address them. But as far as the mechanics go, and like how F-35, how rockets work, or how satellites function, or composites, I didn't learn any of that stuff. So I really need to just be on the job and be in the environment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Robyn, did you want to follow up on that?
I would agree with the being of, but stay curious, and you believe in yourself. You've gotten this far, and if you just continue to learn who you are, learn your strengths. We're always told to work on our weaknesses, but learn your strengths as well, and then you can play to those. And again, I would really say, don't be afraid to take a little bit of a risk. I know that I turned down things because I felt like, oh, I won't be good at it. But I've looked around and found you're not going to know anything anyway. So stay curious, be willing to take a risk, and believe in yourself.
Beautifully said. Janet, anything to add there?
Yeah, I just, as a student, I would just say keep pushing through. I thought that college was difficult. I know some people are like, oh, college was a breeze. There must have been other majors, because engineering is hard, STEM is hard. So just keep going, get any tool that you can to help you, whether it's Mesa, study groups, anything that you can to use as a tool to help you. And then also, the main thing that I always tell my boys is time management. You know, like sometimes they're like, oh, well, I don't have anything to do right now. It's like, there's always something you could be doing, especially if you're taking a full load of school. So plan ahead and try to schedule things in there.
I love that. That's a life lesson. I'm still working on that one. Debra, did you want to finish this out there?
I do. It for me and a lot of other folks that I've met, it's so easy to try to be a generalist, but if you can become kind of a specialist, either join a club or join a society and specialize, get deep, become the go-to person in no matter what you do. Let people come to you, and that way you kind of build up your expertise and you can demonstrate passion. Because when you go for a job, they're looking for people with a little bit of experience, and that passion from a nonprofit or from an engineering society or from a robotics club or some other type of hands activity will give you something to talk about. So become that expert, go deep.
I love that. Thank you all so much for your time. I think that was tremendous advice for all of our students. So thank you all again, Robyn, Janet, Mary, and Debra, for coming in clutch. She wasn't supposed to be one of our panelists, but she really added to this. So so thank you all. And I will definitely send out an email with the link to this. And thank you to all of our students who joined us. I hope this was helpful and enjoyable. And yeah, we'll see you later. Thank you so much.